Welcome, Julie Britton. Thank you
Mhm.
for joining me today on our International Women's Day, March the 8th. Thank you
Oh,
very much.
thank you for inviting me.
Awesome. I'm so glad you agreed.
I couldn't
So
miss it.
lovely. Thank you very much. Right. So, International Women's Day is all about obviously women and women who inspire us to lead a different way and to be ourselves,
Mm.
pretty much. And that's exactly what you did for me all them years ago that we
Oh.
first met. So I would like to talk to you about uh, being a woman in the space of today's society, in general, in business, in personal, and in your spiritual pursuits.
Mm.
So I'd like to talk about your journey, your lessons, the impact, and
Mm.
maybe some advice
Mm.
and celebration of your femininity.
Oh, wow. Great.
Awesome. So if you'd like to introduce yourself and tell everyone exactly what you do, and that'll be a great start. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you once again, Ria, for inviting me. And this feels a real honor to celebrate women and to recognize not just how far you and I have come in our endeavors, and it's also a celebration of all women being seen, being recognized in terms of, what's possible for us and our capacity and being recognized. And if there's anything that we can do to support that, I'm definitely all up for it. So thank you. Thank you. So my name's Julie Britton. I am 52 and I've been in business for 30 years now. I was very surprised that it was 30 years. I was like, wow, that's 30 years ago, but not including my training as well of training as a life coach prior to that and all the different personal development programs that were completed before the launch of my business. I guess this journey has been about 35 years after being a beauty therapist, qualifying as a beauty therapist at 16 and just naturally hearing what people are up to in their lives and being really interested in what people are dealing with while they're having a facial or a massage. They seem to tell you everything, while they're relaxing. I thought there must be a way to actually live life beyond our limitations and to live our lives to our greatest potential. And that's when I started to seek at about 23, 24, started to seek personal development strategies. And interestingly enough, even though I've been in business for 30 years, offering a variety of different coaching styles and techniques, which I can talk about, later on. My auntie offered me a tape pack, and in those days, used to buy 6 tapes from America. I can't even remember what his name was now, and wonderful man. I'm sure his name will come to me. 6 tapes, a book, and you played the tape, and you had coaching from a tape.
Wow.
That's what inspired me to be.
Yeah. Ah, wow, that's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
Do you know what tapes I listened to as a kid?
yeah.
Chubby
No,
Brown. So I honor your auntie for being so far in advance. I wish I had someone like that around me at that age.
she was brilliant. Chubby Brown sounds fun, a lot more fun, and explains why I think you have a lot more fun and humor. Um, yeah, my Auntie Libby, she was one of those aunties that did my astrological chart at the age of 5 and told me what my purpose was
Wow.
and why I was here and what my purpose was in line with the age of the Aquarius. And I had nobody to talk to about that.
Did she did she actually say that you'd be helping people or she
Yeah.
did?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
She said with my communication skills and my leadership capacity, she said everything is written in the stars for you to be influencing people, making a difference. For the age of the Aquarius, I had no idea what it was. So when I was 30, I thought I'll have an age of the Aquarius birthday party, and I got everyone to dress up as water.
did you?
Yeah. And I said, "Oh, this is all in celebration of the age of the Aquarius." And I said, "What's that?" I don't know, but I think it's something to do with the planetary alignment of the stars. We're going to go through something really special, I said. I've been told.
Oh my, that's priceless. That is absolutely priceless. Now I've
Everyone needs
been,
an Auntie Libby.
yeah. Now I've been to one of your parties and it wasn't the water party, but I can imagine it was fun.
It was fun. People dressed up as showers where you had to open the curtain to get into their sort of dancing zone. People dressed up as octopuses, mermaids, and even we had a pirate.
Oh my God, that's priceless. I love it. Awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, thank you for that. So, tell us a little bit. You mentioned the coaching, but I know you've niched that down a little bit. So,
Yeah.
just mention your sections of
Mm.
your coaching that you give out.
So I trained with the coaching academy, which came over from America, my coaching qualification, but I never actually qualified due to my dyslexia. So a lady came into my life and she helped me through creating a program. It was an ILM coaching program, level 1 and 2, where you could just answer the questions orally, which completely transformed my confidence then to go
Mm.
bigger. And I did my master's in entrepreneurship, where I did a pilot on coaching management to improve their service, their productivity, their profitability. And so I went from life coaching and working with people around their lives and their relationships and their aspirations and their purpose and their goals and their self-belief and you know their 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 capacity to communicate what they need to people as well, in terms of having full self-expression. And then after the masters, again, I didn't qualify because of my dyslexia, but I had achieved some really great measures in the pilot that were exemplary, and I was able to promote that document to all the businesses and say these are the kind of measured results that you can establish within your staff. So I did a lot of staff development coaching, and then I was given the opportunity to work with a musicians forte group, working with young, talented, amazing musicians. They, like the X Factor, went through some kind of, process of selection for Wales. And then I was working with them on their presentation, their capacity to be with the audience, their capacity to be able to, go shopping, buy their food, write their music, create the music, the sound of their music, put the words together, go to the recording studio, go to live events, because obviously there's a lot of things to manage, isn't there, for young people?
Mm.
So I did a lot of like organizational planning coaching for young people to really step into 16, 17, 18, like be able to earn money, pay their bills, because they're very creative people, and getting themselves organized. So using my coaching training from the coaching academy and from the ILM level 1 and 2 coaching with Emma Faulkner. Those were the tools that helped me with that. And I did a couple of days of NLP. I didn't do the full day of neuro linguistic programming. So that was the beginning. And then after my mum passed away, I was guided, due to the amount of anxiety and stress I was dealing with in my own life, I was guided to do the British School of Mindfulness. And what that provided is I was able to coach them, to apply to myself, apply to the young people, the musicians, then some mindfulness, some breath work, some visualization. And I was able to take that into the Welsh Rugby Ospreys, to get them to focus on some of their technical and their their tactical and technical skill set of, like if they're rucking or passing, or, if you get them to visualize them doing it, yeah, when they've applied themselves well, you can get them to do it again 100 times better just through visualization, or feeling how it would feel in the body, or um, you know, getting them to sort of affirm to themselves that they do have the capacity and belief to do something, so they can hear their self-belief. So these things now have been trialed for, I was with the Forte for 10 years. I'm still with the Welsh Rugby. That's been 20 years I've been with Welsh Ospreys Rugby. Fabulous, really, really rewarding. Lovely to see some of the men go off and do what I'm doing as men, actually, to see them actually out there in the business world doing this kind of stuff. I just thought,
Mm.
oh, wow, wow, that is just proof in the pudding, isn't it? To see other people doing the more soft skills development stuff. And then I trained then in 2018. I was called to train with the Ayurveda school, the True Ayurveda, which is an ancient Hindu Indian philosophy of life. And that really was about me coming out of, I'd been corporate coaching, I'd been team building coaching, I'd been young people coaching, working in like, purposeful performances, right, for some time. And I was really inspired by the spiritual. I was really inspired by moving into something a little bit more lighter. I was very much in the masculine myself, to be honest with you. Talking about the International Women's Day, I was very much a very competitive, go-getter woman that was very much in the masculine, worked a lot with men, you know. And so yeah, so I did the Ayurveda. And that taught me so many different parts. Taught me meditation. It taught me a form of somatic counseling, how to deal with more sensitive emotions that are causing disease. Yeah. We learnt the 7 stages of disease within Ayurveda, and what is manageable through balancing the doshas in Ayurveda. The dosha is the Sanskrit word for that which is out of balance.
Mhm.
And then so meditation, breath work, sound, crystals, food, psychological states of a human being, the gunas, all of it really. How the stress stores in your body. So it's just like very wide, very vast, and I loved it, and I found it quite complex to promote because it was just so big. I didn't really know. It's taken me years, actually. It's taken me years to promote Ayurveda. I just, I just really sort of found it difficult to promote because it was so vast, if I'm honest. I felt quite overwhelmed with all the topics.
Mm. Yeah.
So I did the Ayurveda, and then the last thing then is I did dialectic behavior therapy. So dialectic behavior therapy is a way of, again, it's mindfulness, it's regulating the nervous system, it's how to communicate your needs, it's how to set boundaries, it's how to be able to express yourself while remaining your own respect for yourself.
Mhm.
And I have found that incredibly valuable, particularly for myself, and also using that within a charity for single parents who've really benefited from it as well. So yeah, it's grown into different things, and yeah, they're all very valuable for different reasons.
Yeah. Sounds a lot of tools there that have come in handy over the years. Yeah.
They are very handy for myself, particularly inspired for the use of myself in the beginning. which I find that's how I lead my business.
Mm.
Is if I find tools for me and I'm living, breathing them, then I can pass it on with passion.
Yeah, yeah, it's always the best way, innit?
Yeah,
You know it's worked, tried and tested.
yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. Right. So you answered this one a little bit. What drew you to the work you do now? Your auntie, your story of Auntie Libby. Um, and then we're asking if there's a specific moment that you realised your path. But I suppose you
Well,
always,
yeah.
what do you think?
I mean, Auntie Libby was always drumming this astrological chart in me. And, I chose beauty therapy because my career advisor said to me, well, you haven't done very well at school. Yeah, so you can't stay on into the sixth form. And she
Mm.
said, I think you ought to be a hairdresser. That's not an insult to hairdressers, even though it does sound like it, really. I said, well, actually, my mother's a hairdresser. And I
Mm.
said, I'm already a Saturday girl and I'm already sweeping and shampooing, I said, and passing the curlers. You know, I guess I can learn how to cut and colour. And actually, that's not actually what I want to do. She
Mm.
talked about beauty therapy. So when she recommended beauty therapy, and I started doing massage and I started doing facials, when I was at Ragdale Hall, they said to me, how about if you do aromatherapy blending? What you'll do is you'll take people on a journey. They get to smell which oil they like. And when they smell the oil, that will be associated to the emotional development that they need. And I suddenly got into, because
Mm.
my Scorpio sign in astrology is in uh it's in, oh gosh, what's the personality? Uh
One is identity, isn't it?
yeah, so my
Um,
Scorpio is in identity.
mm,
So a lot of the stuff I do has a very transformative natural energy about me,
yeah.
right? So that Scorpio, even though I'm Aquarius, that Scorpio energy, once I started to work with people's emotions and got people to talk about their emotions and their behaviors through the oils, I mean, the glowing reports I was getting, I was only a young girl, I was only 21, and they were
Mm,
like, oh my gosh, you're really good at this. And so, as soon as I actually worked for Aveda, which was an aromatherapy skincare hair care company, I was doing a lot more like that work, really. And then I thought, you know what? I think I'm going to do a personal development weekend with, oh, what was her name now? Brandon Bays. She
mm,
did Journey. So I started doing Journey healing work. Lots of people were healing from cancer and all sorts. And so I thought, well, I'll go to the Hospice of the Valleys and I'll work with cancer patients. And as I'm working with cancer patients, the doctor would say, oh, Julie, do a visualization technique with them over there and get them to visualize something that will overcome their cancer. And so I was doing that on a Saturday morning, and some of the people were going like, "Oh, I'm cured of cancer," and I was like, "Wow, this stuff is really working." We were doing the aromatherapy massage, we were doing the visualization, and in that moment, I recognized that I was bringing something that was really powerful.
mm,
And I recognized that when you get the right people with the right mental attitude, I mean, cancer is not a very nice thing, is it? Nobody wants that big C word, do they? And
absolutely.
actually, we were providing our services, and they were healing under a Western doctor, look, who
Mm,
believed in alternative health.
wow.
And I was only
This was a
about,
long time ago as well, wasn't it?
this, this was like 26,
Yeah.
27, 28, 29, 30, and then I thought, bugger it, I'm going to set up my business. I'm going to set up my personal business, and it started at a really young age. Maria, making a difference and believing in making a difference started young for me. And yeah, I definitely I mean, it's quite nice actually to talk about it and realize how this has always been weaving through from a very, very early on phase in life, I suppose, really. So it's nice to acknowledge it, isn't it? Yeah,
Yeah, it's good often to reflect back, isn't it? And look how far you've come.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
I don't know if I've answered your question there.
I
But
think
yes,
I
that
think
was it.
so.
I think working with cancer patients made me realize, and then I got to be honest, I've had moments in every aspect. So when I worked with Total Produce, I worked with 10 professional men who had been in the business for about 35, 40 years. So you imagine having people around the table that had been in business for 35 years, right? There's a lot of wealth of knowledge around the table.
Mm.
And no insult to Total Produce, that these men weren't recognized and seen. Do you know what I mean by that?
Mm. Yeah.
These people weren't acknowledged.
Mm.
I took the time to acknowledge each and every person's capacity. I took the time to understand what his strengths were and what his weaknesses were and his strengths and weaknesses. And I started to work with their strengths and get them to participate in their job according to their strengths, you
Mm.
know? Like if they got a weakness, like give it to someone else who's good at it, you know? Just let go of that and minimize the amount of effort on that and just focus on the strengths and the capacity. Well, I think we increased a 5% margin profitability in 1 year for Total Produce around the whole of the UK. Because
Yeah.
every manager from that senior person from that location, they measured it the year later and they said, oh, we want you back because there's been a 5% increase in profitability. And some of the more senior managers, how did you do that? How did
Mm.
you do that? Because they tried training courses before and it hadn't worked. And what I think I'm really good at is I'm really good at seeing people.
Mm.
I'm really good at seeing the value in people and saying, you're really good at that. You're really good at that. I see you. Yeah. That's a very valuable contribution. Whereas some of the managers don't speak to their staff like that, you know? And that's not a judgment, that's an observation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, you are very good at seeing people.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You
Yeah.
make us all feel seen.
Well, I think it's because I think deep down inside, I realized this year on my Woman course is that I wanted to be seen. I didn't realize that I had a deep hunger for, gratification. So um, now I've realized that, I've kind of like moved on from that a bit because I think for some people who are seen, yeah, it makes them feel uncomfortable to be seen. Some people feel uncomfortable being seen, you know.
Do you think they're people who don't really do the work, the internal work then, or what do you think?
I mean, I really like being seen. If someone sees me at my capacity and says it in front of a group, I think, oh, that's brilliant, yeah. And there are some people that feel uncomfortable, and that must be because perhaps there's some sense of unworthiness within.
Mm.
Probably, yes, to
Yeah,
answer the question, yeah.
lovely. That leads on nicely to some challenges that you maybe don't talk of much,
Mm.
or a time that you doubted yourself, but you got through it. So, what challenges?
Well,
Um,
yes.
I think, sorry to interrupt your
Yes.
thoughts, but I think your dyslexia
Oh,
is absolute profound what you're showing people there
yeah.
struggle
Thank
with their
you.
neurodiversity. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, dyslexia and I don't know whether it's ADHD or autism or like a form of trauma. The mask I put on in business is smile, be professional, listen and feedback what people are saying, and really take the time to understand what people are dealing with.
Mm.
Move my emotions out of the way and not allow myself to get in the way. Being like that all the time can make you a very sunshiny person and not necessarily always take a close stock at yourself.
Mhm.
And sometimes you can I've deluded myself into thinking I'm a lot more okay and happier than I really am. Because
Mm.
I'm very good at, you know, you know, when really there's something going on in the inside, you know?
Yeah.
And so when I left school and, you know, my written, you know, capacity was a problem. Um, you know, I used to get people in the training school to write on the board for me. And would just say outright, due to my dyslexia, I'm not going to be writing things out. Or I'd write it up beforehand and copy from the book, and then ask somebody to do the writing during, which worked out very well. Um, when I come to the end, I used to say, I'm not going to be writing a report about this program. And sometimes, if somebody new came in, they would want these detailed reports, and I wasn't able to give them in the way that perhaps is possible now through ChatGDP. Like if I put some of my findings and summaries and stuff in ChatGDP, as long as it's everything that I've experienced and it's to the letter, it can actually help with my grammar and my punctuation and my presentation of words and spelling and things, which has been a godsend for me, if I'm honest.
Yeah, absolutely. Using
Um,
it.
I know a lot of people got these really negative things about AI. However, I feel for people like me, who has great oral and listening capacity as a coach, to have things backed up in writing is phenomenal, actually.
Yeah.
So I would say that has been a challenge which has recently transformed due to ChatGDP. And I've also been challenged by, if I've ever had a client who's working on the exact same challenge as me, yeah, I have been triggered in a session where I have felt really, really the energy of, or the feeling, or the behaviors amplified for me. You know, over the past 5 years, I've become very feeling orientated. I've been
Mm.
able to feel a lot more. So yeah, so I've actually, there was one person that I found that I couldn't carry on because of the trigger. I was very, you know, sad and disappointed that that was the case. I'd never had that experience before. I was always really brilliant at handling anything.
Mm.
Really, always really effective at being able to mirror back what that person was feeling. And for some reason, the last 5 years, my mirror neurons, my empathy neurons, which were much less when I was younger,
Mm.
I had less mirror neurons of empathy when I was younger. Yeah. So when my father died, I didn't cry for 2 years. I really had to have a very strong healing to crack open my heart to feel, so that I could be vulnerable. It took me years to practice vulnerability, whereas now my empathy mirror neurons that they talk about in the British School of Mindfulness are really strong, and I'm able to reflect other people's emotions, you know, and so if I'm reflecting an emotion of someone that where there's like a deep wound,
Mm.
yeah, that I'm in the process of dealing with, and I didn't realize I'm dealing with, and it's having an impact, that can trigger me into paralysis.
Mm.
I can't speak. That's happened once.
Yeah.
So I don't like it when that happens, I gotta be honest.
Yeah, I'm glad it's a rare thing for you.
It is rare.
Good. Right, thank you for that. So you talked about Auntie Libby who inspired you. What about anyone else? Any mentors, authors, friends, leaders? And what qualities do you admire in these people?
Good question. Well, um, the first personal development, well, apart from these six tapes by, what's his name? Anyway, this guy from America. Um, and then I was given this beautiful book. Is it Creative Visualizations? An Indian guy.
Not sure. Not sure.
So I read his, I think it's called Creative Visualizations. I think I read that first. It helps you to visualize and create visualizations. And I was able to manifest after reading that book. So through visualizing, I was able to manifest things that, like, I think at the age of 23, I left Ragdale Hall and I got a job at Clarins as account manager for Clarins in London. I lived in Croydon, and I went from Clarins 1 year to Deckley Orr for about sort of 3 years, and then I went to Aveda for 2 years, and I went to the Christie Hospital, who was treating skin cancer. They found one of the side effects of this red light. It was an anti-aging and non-invasive anti-aging. So I practiced visualization for like 7 years. I got seven companies headhunted me, and I went from, like, say, a £12,000 salary to a 30,000 salary in like 7 years from practicing this creative visualization book. And that's when I was like, oh my gosh, like, if I can do this, I can do anything. And that was really, really inspiring and really powerful. And the other book that I read after him was Louisa L. Hay. And so I read her book like literally 3 times. I did the exercises, finished the book, read it again, did the exercises, finished the book. I did it 3 times. Um, and that was really powerful. And that was very effective at building positive relationships, but especially when I was in London and I was being, how sometimes some managers and leaders can be quite abrasive, they
Mm,
can be quite harsh, they lack empathy, and they can be quite dictatorial, and they can be quite dominating, controlling. I think being a bubbly, peaceful, maybe, I can be a little bit outspoken as well, from Wales. But there's an innocence to me when I was younger. People used to speak to me really harshly,
mm,
and then I'd be like, oh, I've got to be a good girl type of thing. And I can remember doing Louisa L. Hayes stuff, and she was saying about how you can communicate your needs to people. And I actually took the time to speak to some of these managers who were like this. And I said, it doesn't work the way you speak to me.
mm,
And I tell you what, once I held 3 people to account around the way they were with me, nobody messed me about anymore. Everybody tracked me with respect.
mm,
And it was something that I realized really quickly, that I thought, actually, if you go out of your way and if you tell people what you feel really calmly and gently and lovingly and compassionately, people are like, oh, okay.
mm,
And people actually start to make more of an effort. So I noticed from trying these different things on that I was able to influence people, have better relationships, feel more appreciated.
mm. And that's what anyone wants.
I
Absolutely.
think employment can be quite challenging for most people, coming in, doing the same thing every day,
Mm,
long hours, and then sometimes, if somebody isn't at the top, sort of practicing emotional intelligence awareness,
mm,
and there's a certain way, which we see it all the time, don't we? You
yeah.
know, the way people are treated. I just have taken it on to really practice this harmonious way of being, where possible. Not
Yeah.
always possible, but, and, aimed for it to be possible.
Yes, practice what you preach. It's good.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, very lots of integrity you have.
Thank you.
So, tell me a bit more your supportive circles that you build and what
Yeah.
sisterhood means to you. I know this is a big part of your life.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, it's funny, after both my parents passed away, when I was 27 and when I was, I think it was 40 or 39, um, losing both parents to, an early illness.
Mm.
Um, I'd always been, when they were alive, I was always a participant of Landmark Education, which is a personal development organization that teaches you in what it means to be a human being and how to communicate your needs effectively and how to be authentic. And their motto is practice authenticity, speak your truth, and with compassion, and honor integrity. And what integrity means to them is to honor your word, operate from an empowering context, which means whatever you do, even if it's Wolverine, that you do it with joy, you know? So if you're doing your accounts, do it with joy, yeah? Do it with peace, or do it with like some kind of harmonic resonance. So those two skills, authenticity and integrity, I practiced for 18 years with them, and it transformed my life and business. And I was very grateful for that model of work, which was like my community. And then when my mum passed away, then I took compassionate leave, and then I decided that I was going to step away. I was doing a lot of volunteering, and I decided to step away and put all that volunteering time into commit to action, my business.
Mhm.
And then I was kind of on my own. Like there was nobody really supporting me for a while.
Mm.
And I felt very like I was suppressing some grief.
Mm.
And I spoke to a friend of mine. She's a beautiful therapist in London. She is a beauty therapist. And I said, I'm not feeling quite right. I think my body's holding on to grief. And she introduced me to this Ayurvedic hospital, this Ayurvedic spa hospital in Kannur, Nilgiri's mountains, Rishikesh, well, not Rishikesh, the Nilgiri's mountains up the top, like called Black Mountains. And so I went there for a month and I cried my little eyes out because I was grieving the loss of my mum. Again, crying was quite difficult for me. The only thing that would make me cry was the Ayurvedic Panchakarma. And I used to go for 1 month every year for 10 years. This Ayurvedic approach is wonderful for clearing trapped emotions in the heart. It's what actually inspired me in 2018 to actually train as an Ayurvedic specialist, because I knew the difference that it makes and how it like clears all your energy centers. So I was going there and that was really fab. And then I stopped going there, and then the pandemic hit. And when the pandemic hit, a beautiful lady approached me, and I could see all these really spiritual people like out and about. I thought, what are you doing out? How are you out? How come have you made it out? And somehow they'd hired a place and they'd all managed to get together. And so I was following these people. And as I was kind of walking around outside in nature, where I could, just after the pandemic, I was seeing all these white feathers everywhere. And I
Mm.
thought, why do I keep seeing these feathers? Like, what is this all about? And I do believe it was the beginning of my of like a heart awakening. I've got a program now which is called Awaken Heart, and it's just all the tools that I learned about my heart awakening in the pandemic. Like, I changed from this sort of egotistical, material focused businesswoman in the masculine, like going out there, closing a number of contracts, making a difference, being quite busy, and to, well, all the opportunities were taken away. everything got really quiet. I was indoors, really struggling with my my anxiety and depression. So I'm doing a somatic counseling course at the moment, and they talk about the polyvagus nerve being responsible for causing dorsal vaga, dorsal vagal, or sympathetic. And what that means, you can either be pushed into sort of anxiety, being busy, being like
Mm,
overly sort of like, fast moving in your thoughts, and
mm,
hyperactive, or you can go into dorsal vagal, which is low, even depressed, even
mm,
clinical depression and fatigue, and sort of like, having to lie down. So
mm,
it's kind of flipping between those, and I didn't know what that was all about at the time. And then this lovely lady, she, very beautiful spiritual lady, um, was running or was wanting to run these programs called the Earth Walkers Gathering. She said, I notice you're walking the land a lot. I
mm,
said, I know, I'm seeing feathers all the time. I said, I have no idea what this means. And I feel that it's a flocking together of freedom, you know? So she invited me to this retreat, and I went along, and it was a trauma informed retreat. And I mean, in the pandemic, there was a couple of things I did: a trauma informed retreat, I did inner child work, I did inner teenager work, I did some inner shadow work, and I did this trauma informed retreat. And that circle of people that came together were very highly spiritual, sort of people that were committed to development in some way. And I guess over the last 2 to 3 years, I've been part of that soul family tribe. We've been offering, and I've been participating in holding meditational circles, working with mugwort, working with blue lotus from Egypt, working with cacao, and through these beautiful plant medicines, being able to work with our subconscious more and really clear up some of things, from our limitations, just through using teas, which I found fascinating. And then my doctor from my Ayurveda school said, well, why don't you write a paper so that you can qualify Ayurvedically what this means as well? So I've managed now to bring this plant medicine in with my Ayurveda. And so now I'm serving like these mugwort, blue lotus, cacao tea ceremonies for people to practice breath work and practice meditation, and it does help to open the third eye. So some people get visualizations, they start to see, because I was doing visualizations with the musicians and the rugby athletes, to be practicing that visualization technique with these sort of plant medicines really has made me realize that we can be really shifting our limitations of thought and self-belief, and actually with the help of dialectic behavior therapy being able to reframe and bust those myths that we hold about ourselves.
mm,
It's surprising how many myths that we hold, or limitations of beliefs that we hold about ourselves, that impact our capacity. And this year I've just come through the end of the snake year, where I've really been working on my relationship to self-trust.
mm.
It's been a massive lesson for me, my self-trust, just playing small, not trusting myself, not pushing myself beyond where I know perhaps I could go, you know. That's actually starting to feel like I can feel the edges of it, and I can feel the possibility of it. you know, for the first time, I feel that I could actually fly.
Oh, it's a
You
proud
know,
moment.
it is. And it's like I haven't been able to say that without going red or feeling really uncomfortable. Actually feeling, yeah, this is, I can take off and fly. And I guess I'm like looking and observing where those opportunities could be currently. where they could fly. Well, one of the things that has happened is I have been invited to Westminster, to the Parliament,
Exciting.
to do
Exciting.
a 30-minute talk on breath work and regulating your nervous system, and how that, yeah, I'm so excited, how that
That's a
leads.
proud moment.
So that's kind of the flying bit. Like, it's like, I got goose pimples just talking
Yeah.
about the possibility of influencing people at Parliament, that when we regulate our nervous system and we come out of the sympathetic and we come out of the dorsal vagal and we come into central stillness point, we can make proactive decisions. And when we make proactive decisions, we're not making reactive choices.
Mm.
Yeah. And when our amygdala, which is the emotional part of the brain, is protected by the prefrontal cortex, yeah, through meditation, through breath work, through compassionately speaking kindly to ourselves and each other, yeah, which is the way forward, for a new world that works for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We are able to proactively work through anything.
I love that. That's a wonderful note to leave people with. That's very peaceful.
Mm.
That feels peaceful.
It
I
does,
like
doesn't it?
that. Yes, absolutely.
Mm.
What do you want to see for women right now? Or what do you hope the next generation won't have to struggle with?
Yeah.
Um, leading off what you just said there, of how you picture the world to be.
Yeah.
So what do you hope for the women of the future? Well, right now and the future.
Well, I seek for um, women to be respected and cherished, and loved. When women are really held with such beautiful respect, you
Mm.
know, it's so, 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 we are extraordinary, actually. When we're held in love, I think we do a lovely job for each other as sisters. When we hold each other in love and respect and honor and appreciation and seeing each other, our capacity is endless. Have you noticed how, like, giving we are, and how nourishing we are, and how, you know, grateful we are, and how we're able to give so much, when those conditions are held for us to give so much,
Yeah.
and I find that talking about these matters, I feel that I want to be very honorable and respectful of how I say it as well, you know
Yeah.
because there's a lot of misunderstanding and interpretation sometimes, which I'm not going to go into.
Hmm.
Like, for example, in relationships, experiencing reciprocity,
Mm.
experiencing an exchange of harmonic resonance and respect and honor for each other, without allowing, like, we can have a different point of view, can't we?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Say, I get that that's your point of view, and that would make sense for the kind of person that you are. And then for that person to say, I get that point of view for the kind, because every personality and style of personality has a point of view, doesn't it?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It doesn't mean to say we have to agree, or, that we have to sort of make that person wrong because they have a different point of view. I'd like it that we could just go, do you know what? Thank you for having that point of view, because all the people that have that point of view have, that point of view, and we have that point of view, and that actually makes us and so just allowing for all those different parts just to be like kind of bubbles, just touching and bouncing and just being, rather than this obviously when we look outside the world and we see all the wars, yeah, really it's a reflection of the microcosm that we hold within us, isn't it?
Mm.
That's how I see the world. Everything that's happening is outside is happening within us.
Yeah.
And so we might not always spend the time to work it out for clarity and harmony for ourselves because of, you know, we're working, paying our bills, and all of that. And I do seek the level of freedom and the spaciousness to resolve those things for ourselves, not like force an outcome or tell people what to do or, have some kind of attachment. Well, it should be like this, and oh, isn't that disgusting? All that sort of like paraphernalia and all that drama. I'm not up for that either. It's
Yeah.
just having this, you wonder sometimes, is it possible? I do believe it's possible. And the reason why I believe it's possible is that when we go away on these retreats and we hold space for each other, there's all sorts of different type of people, all sorts of different points of view. Yeah. And it's really nice that we can come to a place of harmonic resonance through sound. We can come to a place of peace through meditation together. We can come to a place of like communion and understanding through sharing our views and accepting each other.
Mm.
So what I feel is possible is a realm of acceptance, a realm of respect and honor, and a reciprocity, between each other, to support each other, to rise each other up, to elevate, to see each other's capacity without competition. I mean, it is a thing, isn't it? Competition,
Mm.
competition, and comparison. I know that, it's one of the things that, letting go comparison, accepting my strengths and my own unique talents, while also accepting the strengths and the unique talents of others and recognize where they fit in uniquely, and being able to collaborate together. I mean, what that means for like women, in terms of, a lot of people, they have very strong views, about women's equality and stuff like that. I find those conversations quite complex, actually, and actually, what I know is that by bringing love, harmony, and acceptance, and being with, and curiosity and wonderment, to our relationships, it creates a softness. So I
Mm.
guess what I'm saying, really, without going into all the harsh sort of like this, that, and, is to bring the softness, to bring the being with, to bring the acceptance, to bring the listening, to bring the harmony, to bring the reciprocity, to bring seeing each other for our greatness. Yeah.
That's a wonderful vision.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. Long may it get stronger. Mm.
Definitely. And I feel it is happening, and it's been my vision since the pandemic, and it is happening, and it's finally coming together in that way. So I am grateful. And I've also, in the process, while being on this mission, transformed a lot of it myself, like some of my own harsh edges, some of my own lack of compassion for myself and lack of self-worth and toleration of disrespect as well in my life,
Mm.
and just being with stuff, feeling that I have no power and control.
Mm.
And actually, you know, realizing I do have power and control, and I can let things go, and I can stand for what I believe to be true with a gentleness and a softness, and focusing on myself.
Beautiful. And that's the best place to start, because my next question is if someone wanted to start their own healing journey, where would they begin?
Well, it depends really on your kind of way as a person. I always say some people are more visual, some people are more kinesthetic, some people are more auditory. And if you don't know all of that, it doesn't really matter. It's kind of, I've spent my whole life sort of trying things out, trying this out, that out, to see what I feel. So for myself, in neuro-linguistic programming, I'm an external processor. I'm auditory. I like to hear things. I like to hear the sound of my voice. Sometimes I use my voice recorder so I can hear things. So, if you are that way inclined, then coaching, is a great way of conversations and, being heard and being validated and feeding back what you're saying can be quite confirming.
Mm.
There's something about that feedback of words that makes a big difference. If you're more visual and kinesthetic, I know that the hypnotherapy work that you've done for me is incredibly valuable when get taken down into a process and I can actually feel things happening in my body through the words and the gentle softening of the words and things clearing. I find that really fascinating, and some of the images that come to mind that allow for clarity,
Mm.
and even the sound in the hypnotherapy, clearing things, finding a therapist that you feel that you trust and feel safe with to uncover those, what I call limitations of beliefs, blockages, and trap things that are inside us. It's in the somatic course that I'm doing. We've spent years as therapists working head down,
Mm.
and they're saying now it's body up all the way.
Mm.
Yeah. So, one of the things I do in the morning is I sing, I dance, I shake it out, I make lots of sign movements, and like let it go through sound and like moving the body. Because like after moving the body and making those sounds, you actually feel like a different person. And
I'm
that can
gonna
be
try
done.
that.
Yeah, and you can be done in about like literally 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes, and you can feel your energy change. So
Hey.
put on your favorite music. If you use music with positive words, obviously some music can be quite negative, so that wouldn't be effective for your nervous system.
Mhm.
So that's a great thing that you can do yourself.
Mm.
And also, having like a Reiki healing or reflexology or a back therapy treatment, the spinology treatment in Merthyr Tydfil. When you get a spinology, spinal alignment, it impacts all the nerve endings that travel throughout the whole of your body, and it can alter every function of the whole of your body
Mm.
just by having a small adjustment, and it can make you feel sparkly, 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 like really like bing, like that's a lovely feeling, that is
Yeah.
feeling like bing, tip top, I'm alive, I'm here, I'm present. I can't recommend that enough. Going for a walk, in nature and getting all the elements around you can really wash through, the way you feel. And because of obviously looking at the blue sky and the green grass and like the element of air around you, it's very clearing, very clearing. And if you feel stagnant and stuck and heavy, really intensive exercise, like going for a run, doing some weights, and doing some like some planks or something, or doing some like ashtanga yoga, which is like a strong sun salutation, and
Mm.
doing 10 reps, you'll just change the way you feel instantly. um I think if you have trauma and you have deep inner wounded childhood wounds, which I had, and I didn't realize that I did, to be honest with you, until well after the pandemic.
Mm.
I had so much fear, incredible fear, all trapped inside me that I didn't even know was there. All of my decisions around my business, I mean, I built up a business built up on fear, built up on fear and wanting security. I mean, it was like that there's a lot of strong suit inside
Mm.
these inner trapped emotions from our inner childhood. So they definitely have their place and they definitely have their benefit. And, however, they lead to disease, and
Mm.
it leads to an early ending of life capacity, which is what happened to both my parents.
Mm.
So having that happen to me made me realize that actually life isn't all about work. Life isn't all about like saving money. Life isn't all about, counting the beans.
Mm.
No, life is a balance. And in the Ayurveda philosophy called the Purusharthas, they say it's a balance between purpose, financial security, freedom, and pleasure. And if you don't have those four in alignment, yeah, you'll just end up being a really sad, lonely person feeling unfulfilled in the world. And if you spend too much time in the pleasure zone center being hedonistic, yeah, you'll feel also impacted by that as well, feeling that you're almost like avoiding some of the more uncomfortable aspects of life, yeah, which keep you in the fear zone or the paralyzed zone of avoiding taking risks and not really reaching your full potential.
Mm.
So all these things are all actually important and meant to be in alignment with balance.
Mm.
So I can't remember what question you asked me now,
You've
but
answered it wonderfully. Where people start, you have talked about many starter points for people.
yeah,
Uh, so I believe, yeah, that was a wonderful answer. Thank you.
there's loads of, like, you can do the counseling, the somatic counseling, you can do dialectic behavior therapy, you can, uh, do inner child work, you can do shadow work, you can do journaling, you can get a book on writing out how you feel every morning for 30 days
Mm.
and acknowledging what one thing can you do to feel it, process it, come home to it, recognize it, accept it, love it, integrate it, and go forward with that new part of yourself, almost like integrated as yourself. And one of the examples I would use is feeling angry about something and allowing yourself to feel angry about it. Go on top of a mountain, go and shout your head off and go and swear, and then at the end of it say, I love every word I said.
That's how I started. So yeah, all up for that.
All need to let go, and it's not always appropriate with the person that you're angry with, even though that happens.
Yeah, absolutely. They won't know what you're on about. I got one last little sentence for you to complete,
Yeah.
and it is women are.
Oh, wow. Oh, I'm just going to feel into this one a minute.
Yeah, take your time.
I want to say, what's the word for women that sort of multiply outcomes, like exponential, is it?
That's a good word. Yeah, yeah.
Exponential. What does that mean?
Women are um all encompassing. I don't know where that come from, but that's just my words. So
Uh,
you
multi. This is my dyslexia live.
well, there's nothing better than life.
um,
It's good to get it right for
yeah.
you.
Um, I mean, I want to say radiant, bright. Um, I just want to say, like, they have amazing capacity. Mm, amazing capacity. Word. What's the word? taking far too long doing this. But I feel they are, I'm going to say they're phenomenal.
Beautiful.
Women are,
Women are phenomenal.
they are phenomenal. They are so phenomenal.
Love
Uh,
that.
and, you know, there is a word, you know, when they actually apply themselves, they are able to achieve anything and everything. And that's why I think
Mm,
they're phenomenal, you know.
beautiful. Yes,
Yeah, here's to
absolutely.
women. Here's to women being phenomenal.
Yes. Keep shining.
Keep shining. That was one of the things I thought. They just shine so bright. Yeah.
Love that. Awesome. Thank you very much. Well, thank you very much for participating in my little International Women's Day talk. Appreciate that. So I shall take it to the editing and see what we can do.
Thank you so much for
Thank you
inviting
very
me.
much.
It's always nice to do an interview because it somehow enlivens us, you know.
Yeah,
It's really been enlivening for me to be here. So thank you, my love, and have a beautiful day.
wonderful.